Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In this video we're talking about Nintendo Switch, PlayStation Vita, a brand new NES game, Linux KDE, and more. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off here talking about Nintendo Switch emulation on Android with DamonSwitch. And taking a look at the Google Play Store here, I don't see DamonSwitch listed anymore. I don't know if Google actually took this emulator down or if Damon made it private. Either way, I'm not complaining. Next up, we're talking about PlayStation Vita emulation on Android with Vita3k, and Vita3k's got a brand new update. I could get used to saying that, that's kinda nice. So at the time of filming, the latest version here is Release 3, and it's got some interesting updates. If you're on a Snapdragon CPU, it will automatically clear the shader cache when you're starting a game with a different driver, and this will prevent a whole bunch of headaches. They've also fixed the on-screen overlay on some more devices, they've rebased with Vita3k PC, and they've added in game compatibility to the emulator, which is amazing. They've also improved variable relocation, which should help fix some games. In all honesty, I'm surprised to see an update so quickly, but I'm not going to complain here. Vita3k on Android is 100% free, and I'll drop a link to this GitHub in the description below. Feel free to check it out. Next up, we're talking about PlayStation 4 emulation with FPS4, and it looks like FPS4 might have encountered a bit of a snag. So at a pretty high level here, Control Execute on Twitter states that FPS4 requires a certain function that will allow a whole bunch of games to work. However, getting that function to work on Windows is another story altogether. It is a massive headache and the developer is currently working on it, but it may take some time. Spine Emulator didn't have this issue because Spine only works on Linux. So best of luck to the developer to actually solve this and get this new function implemented. But moving on, and we're talking about N64 emulation on PC with RMG, which stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or Rosalie's Mutant GUI. Rosalie's Mutant GUI just got a brand new update. Version 0.3.5 just released, and we've got a whole bunch of bug fixes. Version 0.3.4 just released the other day, so Rosalie has been on fire lately. Next up, we're talking about SkyEmu, a low-level Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance emulator. However, some people might not know that they're actually working on Nintendo DS as well. It currently supports some homebrew, and that's about it, but they have made some improvements. At this point in time, DS Emulation and SkyEmu is highly experimental, and I can't wait to see what they do with it next. If you wanted to check out SkyEmu, you absolutely can. Head to web.skyemu.app. If you've got some Game Boy Color, or Game Boy Advance ROMs, you can check them out right in your browser. And speaking about Game Boy and Game Boy Advance emulation, next up we're talking about Modern Vintage Gamer, or MVG for short. MVG has a brand new video called Game Boy Advance emulation on the Nintendo Switch is impressive. This is a good video, I recommend checking it out, and I'll drop a link in the description below. It's entertaining and informative. The only thing I don't agree with here is the word impressive. Is it good emulation on the Switch? Absolutely yes, it's great emulation. Is it impressive? I would argue no. I would expect Nintendo to have good emulation considering they made the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and they have the source code for it. I mean, you can already emulate this stuff on the Switch if you wanted to without going the official NSO route. And on top of that, has Nintendo really set the bar that low that good emulation on the Switch is impressive? I guess they have, even though they have a whole lot of money that they could have easily thrown at pretty much everything here to make emulation good in the first place on the Switch. They kind of dropped the ball with N64 and well, they're doing better here, but at the same time, it should be expected that they're doing good. And speaking about emulation on the Switch, on a fun side note here, someone has Vita3k up and running on a Switch playing Persona 4 Golden. If you wanted to check out this video, I'll drop a link to it in the description below as well. Moving on, and we're talking about some ROM hacking, specifically with MegamanX3. And MegamanX3 Fastrom has just released here, and if you don't like the game slowing down when there's more than 2 enemies on screen, you might want to check out this Fastrom hack. It's impressive. And speaking about impressive, next up we're talking about a brand new NES game that's about to be released. It's called Super Sunny World, and it's going to be released on a physical cartridge and will be on sale. It's a platformer. For those who may be curious, I will leave a link to the developer's Twitter account in the description below and you can check it out. Super Sunny World is built from the ground up. It's not a ROM hack, it's a brand new game. And last up here, we're talking about Linux, and there's a brand new release of the KDE focused KaOS, and this upgrades the Linux kernel from 6.0 to 6.1 LTS, and also upgrades to KDE Plasma 5.27 LTS. So fun fact here, aside from being Valentine's Day, apparently it's also Free Software Day. KDE Plasma 5.27 brings about a whole bunch of performance improvements, optimizations, bug fixes, and brand new features. For example, on the lock screen, if you hit the escape key, it'll turn your monitor off. And on top of that, for multi-monitor support, KDE got a whole lot better. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a ton today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.